Great. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brianna Bobo. I am the chair for the City of St. Louis Charter Commission. I am pleased to call to order the second May bi-monthly meeting of our Charter Commission, organized for and on behalf of the City of St. Louis. So the time is now, according to my laptop, 4:35 p.m. And we welcome members of the public who have joined in via our Zoom link. So at this time, we're going to move into the roll call and also approval of a few meeting minutes, some from January 29th, February 7th, March 28th, and our first meeting of this month as well. So I will yield the floor to you, Commissioner Intagliata.
Thank you, Chair. I'll begin the roll call. Commissioners, please either say here or present when I call your name. Chair Bobo.
Here.
Vice Chair Sheridan.
Here.
Commissioner Crossland.
Here.
Commissioner Dwight.
Present.
Parliamentarian Garth. Commissioner Grant.
Present.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles. Commissioner Riley. And Secretary Intagliata, I am indeed present. With 5 of the 9 voting members present, we have a quorum. I will now call the non-voting members roll. Director Christine Ingrascia.
Present.
City Councilor Sheena Hamilton.
Present.
Director Sonia Gray. Mr. Nadrick Tankins.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor's Chief of Staff, Jared Boyd, standing in for Director Milberg.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Jay Kummel. And the Honorable Joseph Vollmer. Thank you all. And I see that Parliamentarian Garth has joined us. Parliamentarian, can we add you to the roll by here or present?
Present.
Thank you.
Just as a point of clarification, Commissioner Intagliata, I think there might be 7 of us since Commissioner Dwight is down below versus 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? No.
7.
There are 7.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Secretary. So draft meeting minutes from the dates that I mentioned prior are January 29th, February 7th, March 28th, and May 6th are part of the meeting packet for today. And I will now again recognize Secretary Intagliata for a motion regarding the approval of those minutes. So I'll yield the floor to you now.
Thank you, Chair. Making a motion to approve the minutes for January 29th, February 7th, March 28th, and May 2nd. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chair Sheridan seconding. With a motion and a second, I'd like to call the roll. Please answer aye or nay. Aye signals acceptance. Chair Bobo.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheridan.
Aye.
Parliamentarian Dwight. I'm sorry, Parliamentarian Garth.
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland.
Aye.
Commissioner Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles. Commissioner Riley. Secretary Intagliata, aye. So with,
Commissioner Intagliata,
yes,
you did not call Commissioner Dwight's name.
sorry,
You did not-
Commissioner Dwight,
Aye.
thank you, Vice Chair. With that, the ayes have it, it's unanimous.
Excellent, thank you. Our next agenda item is the discussion of the Board of Aldermen's process and timeline amendment for review. And I have invited non-voting ex officio member of the commission, Director Christine Ingracia, to talk through this item, understanding that there might be some areas that she can shed light on. This discussion will likely relate to agenda item which comes later, number 7, because we do have scheduled our next public hearing for the week of July 15th, which hopefully we'll be able to nail down shortly. But Director Ingracia, at this moment, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Chairwoman Bobo. I'm only able to discuss next steps in the process for the recommendations from the Charter Commission coming to the Board of Aldermen in a closed meeting session. So I'm not able to do that today, but I would be happy to do so in the future, even if the commission's interested in having a special meeting, so we don't have to wait 2 weeks to have the discussion. I'm just not able to say anything in an open meeting.
Okay. And I think that we will have to likely have additional, as you mentioned, special meetings. So perhaps we can group those together. So with that, we will move to our next agenda item, which is a discussion of proposals from the work groups or the groups formerly known as work groups and our voting members of the commission as a preliminary matter so that we're able to get through and prioritize these recommendations. As you can imagine, at this point, we need to really be drilling down and deciding what to move forward with. Director Gray has also agreed to postpone the discussion of her submissions relating to Article 18 for a special meeting of the full commission. Director Gray has provided kindly her availability over the next several weeks. So again, I would imagine that we'll be able to combine a special meeting for Director Ingracia and also Director Gray to hear both of them. I would like to first kind of outline the format. So I think it's prudent for us to go through in submission order. So I'll ask that commissioners review the contents of our meeting packet. And I respectfully ask, just for the essence of time, that we cap our discussions around these to 10 minutes maximum per each bundle of proposals. And then we can move forward with motions. I'll entertain motions on which ones to advance.
Commissioner, Chair Bobo, can I just ask for clarification? Will the submissions be put up on the screen as we're going through them, or do we need to refer to paper copies as we're talking?
We'll need to refer to either paper copies, and it should also be in the digital meeting packet.
Is it prohibited to share it on screen as we go through it, Chair?
I don't think it is.
I think I can probably share that.
If you wouldn't mind, that'd be great.
Yeah, I would just
It'd
for
be
my
easier
own
for people to
edification.
follow.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have to be looking down and digging quite so much.
Okay.
Great
let me
idea.
see. All right, just a second. Let me.
Okay.
Give me a second. Let me see if I can figure this out.
While he's doing that, do you want to finish with your format, Chair Bobo, please?
Yes, I will do so. So as far as the commission's proposed amendments, we have a total right now of 50 proposals. So each of them are we're going to be on a newly combined and organized spreadsheet numbered 1 through 50. So once we've gotten through all of these proposed amendments submitted by voting commissioners, I will then open the floor for a discussion and a motion regarding how to prioritize the proposed amendments and recommendations that we'll vote to move through for full consideration. And I believe Secretary Intagliata is pulling them up.
Can you see them?
Yes.
Yes, now we can.
Very good.
Excellent.
All right. Very good. And they're all up. I think everyone can see them.
Really quickly, I want to recognize a hand raised by Director Ingracia.
Thank you. This is, if Commissioner Intagliata would zoom in just a little bit. I have my readers on, but they're still not doing my eyes justice.
Okay. How is, you want it zoomed in or out? How
And
is that?
please. Yeah, that's better. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right.
So work group 2 has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The work group 2, you see here numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8 is the first batch. Those are all Article 2, except for number 8, which is Article 5. These are all proposed to make it voting easier and more convenient for city residents. And we'll have the added benefit of, as we heard from the Board of Election Commissioners, it will they anticipate greatly increase voter turnout for city elections, both primary and general, as well as saving a substantial amount of money, at least $600,000 per election cycle as it currently stands. The proposals are to move general elections from April to November of even years, which is the congressional and presidential cycles, move primary elections to August of even years. Primary elections in the city take place in March. General elections take place in April. Those would move to August for primary and November for general. The elections on recall, referendum, and initiative would also be moved to either an August or November of an even year. The all initiatives, referendum, recalls, and charter changes to require only a simple majority to pass. The increase the time for giving notice in an election from 20 days to at least 30 days, and expand the sources for notification beyond a single daily newspaper to include all daily and weekly publications and electronics notice boards in the city of St. Louis, as well as all online sites operated by the city itself. And then finally, lower the threshold for signatures as a percentage of registered voters for an initiative from 10% of all registered voters, as is currently required, down to 5%. So,
Commissioner Intagliata, just a question with regards to item number 8. Do we have a sense of whether there are initiatives that have failed in the past few years that are between that 5 and 10%? Is this an issue that we're trying to correct, or that we're just trying to anticipate?
What that is based on is a look back at initiatives placed on the ballot. Commissioner Crossland, were always put on by a well-heeled, well-funded group, and there's been no grassroots no grassroots groups or no public groups who've come forward and been able to put on a citywide commission in the last dozen years minimum, which is as far back as the research went. And and there's been no ward issues either that, again, weren't put forward by a group who was funded to do so.
Okay,
And
that's good.
speaking with a number
Mhm.
of grassroots organizations, progressive groups particularly, they said if it were a little easier, it might, we may be able to do it. So
I see. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Really quickly, Commissioner Intagliata, I see that we have two hand raised from those on the call. So I will acknowledge Mr. Jared Boyd first, and then following, we'll hear from Commissioner David Dwight.
Good evening, Commissioner Tagliata. I am coming to this process a little cold, so forgive me if I have more questions on this, but to get to even year elections for both number one and number two, from a functional standpoint, how would the transition work? Would there be an extra election to help effectuate that transition, or would folks in office potentially serve extra time to get to that actual cycle?
we hadn't made a final determination. It seems that fairness and disclosure would probably favor the former rather than the latter of extra time. But it would only be, I think that would only relate, Chief, to half of the alders, quite frankly, or the city councilors in the future, we hope. So, but so it would be somewhat limited as far as we could tell. So seven seven alders would be affected one way or the other. So
Commissioner Dwight?
am I remembering correctly that there may have been, when it came to initiative petitions and other propositions for the ballot, that there may be some things related to the Missouri Constitution around requirements there in terms of voting thresholds, or am I misremembering?
not for initiatives, I don't
Okay.
think.
Yeah, those provisions in the Constitution don't apply to local, like to city-specific measures.
Thanks.
Chair, do you want me to go through the next one, or do we want to vote on these, or what's the process here?
So we have 10 minutes allotted for each bundle. You've used about 6, so you're doing great on time. I think perhaps we vote on each grouping. Are there additional ones in this bundle, or is that
No.
all about voting? Okay,
That's everything on voting.
okay, let's see.
And just to clarify, Chair Bobo,
mhm.
we're voting for right now is to move them forward, not to present at the public hearing, as opposed to approving for ballot, etc. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, thank you for making that distinction. Essentially, this is the first of voting to ensure that we can lift this through to the next process. So this is for further consideration at the public, in the public space.
Thank you.
Do you want me to call the roll?
Well, I believe we need a motion in order to move this grouping forward.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to move forward number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. Do I have a second?
Second,
This has been seconded. I will call the roll. Chair Bobo,
Aye.
the Commissioner Crossland,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheridan,
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight,
Aye.
Commissioner Garth,
Aye.
the, and Secretary Intagliata votes aye. Commissioner Grant?
Aye.
I believe that's everyone, Chair, and it's unanimous.
I do want to quickly note for purposes, I did see Commissioner Nolan Eccles also join.
Oh,
So
very good, thank you.
you're welcome.
Let's extend the vote. Commissioner Nolan Eccles, would you like to vote?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so it is unanimous. Let me move right along to making city government more representative and accountable. These all refer to Article 4, which organize and constitute and refer to the Board of Aldermen. The proposed recommendations are change the name of the Board of Aldermen to the City Council, provide the council with ability to increase the budget as well as decrease the budget if the council is unable to pass a budget by July 1st of each year, revert to the previous year's budget, provide a legal department for the city council, make some portion of the council elected at large, and the city council president elected by the city council. All right.
Okay, so I will quickly acknowledge both Parliamentarian Garth to speak, and then I didn't see who was first, so either you or our City Councilor Hamilton.
I believe I was probably, well, on my computer showed me first, but that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
But thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Intagliata, on line item number 16, provide a legal department for city council. If you can just help me understand, how is that different than, say, the city councilor's office now, and how that works with the city at large?
Thank you, Commissioner. As we had lots of input from various aldermen who we spoke to about reorganizing this article. A number of them said that they felt that if they had their own representation, that they believe that the independence and clear voice of the board would be better heard and perhaps better advocated for. And this was pretty uniform across those alders who discussed it. I should say that the city councilor Hamilton has given pretty clear opinions that this is not something certainly that she believes is a good idea, or will make for better legal representation for the city. It was interesting in our conversation with the public advocate of New York last week, one of the points that he did make was that separate legal representation for each of the three independent bodies in New York City government had strengthened all of them. So, does that help, parliamentarian?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. I'll acknowledge City Councilor Sheena Hamilton now.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, Secretary Intagliata, just specifically for you, since you're bringing this forward, have you had the opportunity to review my testimony to Work Group 3 from December?
I did indeed, and that's what I was referencing here.
All right, I just wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to review that testimony before putting this motion forward. There were, in a subsequent meeting to that, there were, first of all, in that meeting, when I gave that testimony, I talked about some of the lawsuits that we have against the city. And kind of one of the questions that Parliamentarian Garth just asked was how this would be different from the city councilor's office. And so my question specifically would be, we have a lawsuit right now related to a piece of legislation, Proposition R, that is, it was a voter initiative, it passed overwhelmingly, and the city is being sued with relationship to the passage of Proposition R. And the plaintiffs in that lawsuit have all been sitting alder people. So my question to you would be, would the Alder People's Council also be on the other side of the case in your scenario, where they get their own lawyer or not? That would be the first question. And then there are some subsequent questions that came up in a different meeting about whether these employees would be civil service, whether these law department employees would be civil service, whether they would be patronage, basically whether they would for cause employees like me, or whether their legal opinions, like their jobs, would actually depend upon their legal opinions.
Okay. To be fair, Counselor, what sort of employee they would be was never referenced. I have no expertise to judge on that. I think that if it's decided that we think it's a good idea, I'm assuming that there are models, including perhaps yours, that we could bring to bear here. In terms of the first issue, I would think that yes, the alders would have their own counsel in this situation.
So for the Proposition R case,
I am merely speculating.
okay, I just want to make sure that I've got you clearly on this. But on the Proposition R cases where sitting alder people are the plaintiffs, you would also have their internal counsel be on the defense side in your scenario.
Yes, I think that probably so. All right.
Okay, so just for the sake of time, we will move to Vice Chair Sheridan, and then Commissioner Grant, and then finally Commissioner Nolan Eccles. And then I'd like to entertain a motion for a vote on this bundle, this grouping, just so that we can kind of keep this moving forward.
Yeah, my only comment, and I've been part of Work Group 2 and helping shape these. The idea of the body's president, the city council president, being elected by the city council or by the board of alders, to me is contingent on the no longer needing that seat or that representative on the ENA. So if the ENA were to change, then I would I would move forward with this to have the president elected by the body. However, if the ENA still remains, I do think there's a lot of value in having the seats on the ENA comprised of 3 citywide elected individuals. So this is one of those situations in which it's somewhat if this then that, and there's some contingencies on what other directions the commission goes. That's all.
Understood. Thank you. Commissioner Grant?
Sure. Look, I understand that we're moving these forward for fuller discussion, but I want to say for the record, I have great concerns about 2 of the proposals here, which is one, the reversion and the inability to pass a budget, reversion to the previous year's budget with inflation. That's going to essentially result in tremendous cuts to programs and services to city residents, could result in the elimination of pay raises to city employees. And I'm greatly concerned by that, as opposed to a provision like we suggest in work group 1 to essentially if a budget's not passed, to let the proposal of the budget director go into effect. 2, I have great concern about elected at large. I think the evidence shows that diminishes minority representation in the elected body when you do an at-large election, and I have great concerns about doing that, especially as we just changed our board of alderpersons or reduced its size by half. So I'm very worried about that. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Do you have anything to say back to that? Otherwise, I will move to Commissioner Nolan Eccles' comment.
No, not on the at large, and I would agree with Commissioner Grant that all research points to exactly that concern. This was something that was recommended to us a number of times, which is why it showed up here. In terms of the first one, reverting to the previous year's budget, I don't believe that would keep the sides negotiating the budget from continuing, but if they had a lockout, the concerns that you voiced are exactly what would keep them working. Is that my sense is that nobody, the executive or the legislative branch, would want to revert to the previous year. So it would continue to keep them negotiating until they passed a budget.
Okay, Commissioner Nolan Eccles.
Commissioner Tagliata, can you tell me which alder people you spoke with directly within your work group?
Can I tell you? It's sort of hard to think who I didn't speak to, I think. I'm sure I could find it, if you would like.
Okay, if you could, I think that's important to know. Prior to us taking a vote on this bundle, I want to make sure that all the alder people's perspective on these recommendations have been heard by the commission.
Yeah, they haven't been, not from me, I don't believe from either of the other members. Commissioner Riley's not here to say. Commissioner Sheridan is here.
Well, and I was on work group 2 for a while also. It's a Commissioner Crossland, and what I do recollect is that all of them were invited to 1 or 2 meetings initially, and some of them came and some of them didn't. So there was an invitation issued to all of them.
Thank you. Okay,
That is correct.
let's move to Mr. Boyd. And also, when you're done speaking, if you could lower your hand, just for, it's easier for me to follow along with.
Sure, I just wanted to, I guess, chime in on number 15 and in terms of providing a hard deadline for the budget to pass. And I think that is more, I think that inability to pass a budget on time is what precipitated our current budget structure. And I think that is what precipitated actually changing the charter to, I guess, change the way ENA has been able to pass a budget and provide the board with the ability to cut and with that hard deadline. So I think the consideration of a hard deadline should probably also look at the budget system prior to, I guess, the changes that were enacted in the 1980s.
Thank you. And then finally, Director Ingracia, and then we will move to vote on this grouping.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to mention for the record, and I'm trying to go back through my files. Aldermen were invited multiple times. All aldermen were invited multiple times to weigh in. We did have, I think, 1 or 2 hiccups where we didn't have any commissioners on the call for whatever reason, but all of those meetings were rescheduled. The offer was extended, and I'll make sure to drop into the chat all of the aldermen who were able to meet formally with our working group. I did just also want to make sure that I think from the position of our office where I'm standing, we definitely agree at some point it would be worth exploring the at-large membership and having the council president voted on by the council itself. But because it's so new with 14 alderpersons, maybe that would be something that could be investigated in the next round of charter recommendation considerations. And if the president of the Board of Aldermen were to be voted on within the city council currently, that would be an even number. So there would be 14 alderpersons on the board. And typically it's just, I think, best practice that there would be an odd number of elected officials in the legislative body making those decisions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty, I think we can move forward with a vote on this grouping.
Okay. Let me make a motion to agree to move forward numbers 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Chair Bobo, do I have a second?
I believe Vice Chair Sheridan said aye.
No, I have a question.
Oh, yeah,
on process.
question.
I have a process question.
Okay.
Are we voting on these to move forward as an entire bundle, or is there the potential for some of these to move forward and some not to move forward? Just a point of clarification, please.
So go ahead, Commissioner Intagliata.
Yeah, I was under the impression, Vice Chair, that we were saying this is to vote to move them forward to discuss and refine further. Is that not correct, Chair Bobo?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So there is a current motion on the floor from Commissioner Intagliata. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And I will call the roll. The Chair Bobo?
Nay.
Nay. The Vice Chair Sheridan?
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland?
Aye.
Commissioner Grant?
You're on mute, Commissioner Grant.
Commissioner Grant?
You're on mute, Commissioner Grant.
I'm sorry about that. Aye.
Thank you. Parliamentarian Garth,
Nay.
Commissioner Dwight,
So if there's interest in some of these, but concerns about some, voting aye would allow us to have those further discussions in the future.
yes.
Which parts of them?
Mm-hmm.
Then aye.
Aye, and Commissioner Nolan Eccles.
Nay.
Okay. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry. Secretary Intagliata is an aye. That is 5 ayes to 3 nays. Chair, I believe that passes for further discussion in the future.
It does. Thank you very much. So we will now move to work group 3, and I will yield the floor to Commissioner Crossland to discuss these bundles. If you wouldn't mind scrolling down just a tad.
I will do that, no problem.
This is a little bit complicated because many of the items which are within this proposal have not as yet had an opportunity as a group to be discussed. But one of the things that I would say about them is that there's nothing within the sections in terms of the bundles that have been approved to move forward so far. There is nothing within these items that would conflict with any of the bundles and the recommendations that are being moved forward for further discussion. As you can see, these articles, starting with 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. The first bundle itself, the first 3, really address the board. There must be an 18 there too. Did it scroll off? Oh, no, it did start with 19, excuse me. The first 3 bundles, the first 3 in the first bundle really address the Board of Estimate and Apportionment and consideration of not approval of it, obviously, but consideration of whether to retain the Board of Estimate and Apportionment or not. And if not, then whether we would continue with a publicly elected controller instead of dividing the controller function within a Department of Finance and as you will see in the third item of the bundle, an Office of Public Advocate. The second article here, number 20, really reiterates, in fact, some of the points that were made in Working Group 2, the former Working Group 2, about no longer publicly electing the Board of Aldermen president, providing for the board to elect a president from its members, renaming with a parallel name change, etc. Clearly, as Commissioner Intagliata mentioned earlier, these would not be recommendations if in fact the Board of E&A were to be retained. So these 3, the first and then the third, which has to do with establishing an Office of Public Advocate, really is relates back then to a proposal that is also coming out of Working Group 1. So these 3 as a bundle really we should address as, is it something we want to discuss more or not? I guess that's what we're at, because we have not really, we've begun to discuss the Board of the Office of Public Advocate, but we've not really had the opportunity yet, and I would assume it at a next meeting or so, we will to discuss the other issues. So that's really bundle 1.
Are there any questions or comments around bundle 1?
So a point of clarification, Chair. Do
Mhm.
we want to vote here then on 6 different bundles? Because that's how they're presented.
Yeah. I would suggest,
I think we should.
yeah, I would suggest that we did they are different enough, I guess, that and what I would recommend we consider now, once we move things forward, is that we, and maybe this is already under consideration, and I apologize for it, but then that we begin to take some of these bundles that overlap with other groups and blend them together for the next iteration, because then we can tell what is unique and what is really repetitive with something that's already somewhere else.
Okay. So.
So I would make a recommendation. I would make a motion that we move the first bundle consisting of items 19, 20, and 21 forward for further consideration of the group.
Well, just one moment. I do
Oh.
see that we do have 2 comments.
okay,
then-
sure.
And then we can go ahead, yeah, and then we can
Yeah.
go ahead and do the motion. So
Okay.
I will recognize Commissioner Grant, and then after following, we'll hear from Commissioner Nolan Eccles.
Well, yeah, I was just kind of follow up on Anna's comment there. It's just a lot of this stuff is especially relates to the public advocate and Board of E&A. I have drafted much
Right.
more detailed.
Right.
In fact, as requested at the last meeting, I've like drafted 4 options for each of E&A, comptroller, public advocate type positions. So those are very detailed. I don't know to what extent they overlap with what work
Mhm.
The other work group is proposing. So
Does what you propose, Chris, keep us from considering further any of these items?
no, but in fact, I think though we're going to need Anna's point is very well taken. We're going to need like a conference committee, right? We're going to need to like get to solidify these proposals into one, because there's just too many,
Right.
too many contradictory things going on. So
Mhm.
Fair. Commissioner Nolan Eccles?
Do we have public comment or public associated representation in our file folder that supports or does not support these 3 recommendations?
I don't believe that these 3 recommendations have really been given much consideration yet by the commission, and therefore it hasn't been raised accordingly within public comments as well. Certainly, I would expect to see that within the next few meetings as we begin to get more into depth in these subject areas.
The only thing that I agree that the commission at large hasn't had a chance to discuss this deeply, but at least in our work group, that was the subject of quite a bit of public comment across, especially that first half of our process. So there has been some kind of public input and thought that we've gathered.
Good.
Commissioner Dwight, do you mind sharing some of those, or would you rather wait until later on?
I think if we're kind of creating a dedicated space to really dive into this bucket of issues, like I'd be happy to bring it at that point.
Mhm.
Like I wonder if, similar to how we're doing with personnel and others, this set may be worthy of like a structured discussion time.
Mhm. A separate special meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. Commissioner Crossland, the floor is yours if you'd like to make a.
Well, let me once again then make a motion to move the first bundle forward to the next consideration point in this process.
And could you, for clarity of the minutes, refer to exactly what line items on the spreadsheet you're referring to?
And we're discussing
your
numbers, yes, we're discussing numbers 19, 20, and 21. The motion pertains to items 19, 20, and 21.
Second. The motion is made and seconded. If we can go through a roll call, Chair Bobo,
Aye.
Could I offer a friendly amendment before?
pardon me?
Sure. What's the amendment?
Just including that like this is an area that really needs some dedicated time, whether a special meeting or a section of our regular meetings.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Thank you.
All right, Chair Bobo.
Aye.
Aye, very good. Vice Chair Sheridan,
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland,
Aye.
the Commissioner Dwight,
Aye.
Parliamentarian Garth,
Aye.
Commissioner Grant,
Aye.
the Commissioner Nolan Eccles,
Nay.
and Secretary Intagliata is an aye. So that is 1 nay and 7 ayes. That motion passes.
Thank you. Items numbers 22 and 23 then pertain to the executive branch. And our big picture, and are in fact the first sentences of a slightly meatier kind of section, once again, that we have not taken an opportunity to discuss in more depth. And so like the ENA and this earlier bundle, I would recommend that we be sure in the next meeting or so to slate time to talk about specifically about the executive branch, in addition to the personnel department itself, which I know we're talking about having a meeting about it. But as we began to look at what were some of the options in terms of how to be able to organize city government so that it would have more flexibility than it has currently, and move with the times, move better with the times. One of the options, and I'm not saying this is the best option, but this is certainly an option that has merit for a variety of different reasons, is to simply, within parameters which could be set up in advance, and we could even define the functions of government that must be covered within each of these branches. And by branches, I mean the executive branch with the mayor at the head, the city council with the formerly the Board of Aldermen, and an office of public assistance, assuming that that would be something that we would move forward with, that we would grant them the ability to reorganize their branches themselves, including renaming job positions, functions, and departments in accordance to law. And I think we have to also say EEOC, is part of law, etc. And so the idea to this is that, 5 years, and there would probably need to be some kind of a check on that. I've been thinking about this. There would need to be some kind of a check so that you wouldn't just be able to have, let's say, the mayor's department willy-nilly eliminate a department in a month or something like that and replace it with something else. But there would probably have to be some kind of an approval process, perhaps by the city council. That's one of the things we need to look at is, we would strengthen the position of these three units by allowing them to organize, but then we would have to strengthen a check also to make sure that they did that in a thoughtful manner where there's appropriate consultations, etc. The second part of the bundle then is that the mayor will assume responsibility to hire and terminate the employment of all cabinet level employees except where a commission or other authorized entity supersedes this. So what that would mean that all of the cabinet level of the director of personnel right now, for instance, the mayor does has the ability to be able to provide some input into the process in terms of hiring the mayor, etc. But really, there is a separate entity under which the personnel director, or whatever we would name that individual, that department would report to. So there and there are other cases, for instance, where the airport commission, where there's a commission that actually hires the individual. And so there's flexibility there to be able to add positions where there's not a distinct authorized entity that that has that authority, but it puts the buck more in the mayor's hand in terms of delivery for some of these for these ultimately responsible kinds of jobs. And, you know, and once again, I'm not saying that that's absolutely the way we have to go, but there are there are divergent opinions about that. Our current personnel director believes that it's best to leave that position in the hands of the Civil Service Commission. The mayor would prefer to be able to appoint that position. That's something that we need to work through and be able to make a recommendation about, particularly once we've been able to have the personnel meeting that we'll be scheduling in the near future. So those are the two that are within the second bundle itself. And there are obviously more details. The mayor provided us with an extensive report of particular areas within the charter where she would recommend that there be changes made, etc. And there's a lot of that language that depending on how we actually develop the proposal and the charter would be added into it. Otherwise, it might just be areas or functions that we mandate. We'll have to see how all that works. But now questions about second bundle?
Yes, so I will recognize Commissioner Nolan Eccles, and just a quick note on time, we are kind of coming down the hatch on time, so just be mindful.
Commissioner Crossland, can you tell me, pertaining to your former, your last attempt at charter reform, these same groupings of articles were also recommended for change then and failed drastically, related to the people not wanting to concentrate again on the streamlining of power in said cases, as it's been reported by way of research. So what do you have to say pertaining to continuing this line of recommendation, even though the public has clearly communicated otherwise?
Well, that's not exactly my recollection of what occurred. Well, there is some overlap. The question of the estimate, the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, was something that came up the last time. The rest of what I've just, which is in the previous bundle. But in this bundle itself, this was not a part of the four amendments, the four proposed amendments in that effort, which actually was undertaken nearly 20 years ago, which is easily a generation or so. And so the city, as we know, the city has changed, the people have changed, the needs have changed, and you know, just because something is not approved at a given time doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just means maybe it wasn't right at that time, but maybe it is right now.
Commissioner Grant.
So Anna, did I understand you correctly to say that the mayor submitted a report outlining these?
To Working Group 3, right.
Okay, has that been distributed to everybody? Because I don't.
It's posted. It would be posted in the. Is it posted in the work group stuff, or is it posted on the broader site? Councilor Hamilton, are you able to tell me that?
I am looking for the report that you're referencing, but I'm not familiar with it. I'm looking to see if there's maybe something I missed.
It was, she had it. She was speaking from it when she did her interview with us. And she made it available to us for that meeting. Because I remember looking at the hard copy as she was talking.
Here's what I can tell you is that I believe she appeared on January 10th. That meeting is on the recordings, but okay. I'm not familiar with the document that you're referring to.
Oh, okay.
So there should be at least a video version of it.
Right.
I would really like to see that report, and I'd like to see, like, are you saying that the mayor is saying that she wants the authority to reorganize her branch?
No, no, I am not saying that. I am saying that she had a specific list per the current charter of changes that she was recommending.
Because what do you mean by the branch of government? Like executive branch, or what's?
Yes, I was thinking, I state mayor, city council, OPA, and I'm thinking of those as three branches, if that helps to explain that sentence.
I would just say that is a tremendous amount of
Yeah.
reporting. I mean, that is,
Yeah.
you are essentially, we have multiple provisions of the existing charter that create various departments and divisions. And I'm just not understanding, are you saying that those can at any time be reorganized by the mayor?
Well, within parameters, because as we discussed this within our work group, one of the things that I believe Councillor Hamilton pointed out, and some others are, there are a lot of laws that oversee what is required of government to provide anyway, and the structure of how it's provided. And so it is not quite as massive as you're talking about, although certainly this is the ultimate in terms of how you do it. And then, there is you try to draw a line to everything that's there. And then is there a balance in the middle kind of a discussion? And so this is not perhaps where we end up, but it is certainly one end of the, of the options.
Vice Chair Sheridan, I did see you raise your hand. Did you lower it? I wanted to make sure to recognize you if you wanted to speak.
I lowered it. No,
Okay.
nothing.
Is there any other discussion or questions in this bundle?
Just that I think I feel similarly to what Commissioner Grant was bringing up around the reorganizing, and would just be really interested in what those kind of like parameters are.
Well, and that would certainly be an important question that we would want to raise in a more in-depth discussion of that area, which we have not had an opportunity to have yet as a group.
So in the essence of time, Commissioner Crossland, would you mind?
Well, yeah, I make a motion that we move items 22 and 23 forward as a bundle for further discussion by this group.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. I'll call the roll. Chair Bobo.
Aye.
The Vice Chair Sheridan.
Nay.
The Commissioner Crossland.
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight.
Aye.
Parliamentarian Garth.
Abstain.
Commissioner Grant.
Nay.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles.
Nay.
The Secretary Intagliata is aye. It is 1, 2, 3, 4 ayes, 2 nays, and an abstention. I believe that
We don't move forward with that grouping.
Pardon me?
I don't think we move forward with that grouping then, I believe, because the abstain goes to essentially no's, right?
Oh,
That is correct.
Okay.
Then,
So-
okay, that will not move forward. Thank you.
Okay.
So
Now-
now we can move into the third bundle.
The third bundle then, once again, this anticipates the fact that we've not had this conversation yet with Director Sonia Jenkins Gray, but The idea is to rename the personnel department. It's a director, adopting more currently utilized human resources nomenclature. I did not, put in here, it should be this or that or whatever, but left that open at this point. Eliminate the use of prioritized lists for vacancies, instead reviewing applicants for responsiveness and applicability, and then forwarding the names of all qualified candidates to the hiring entity. And right here, I believe, based on some conversations that I've had more recently, it should probably say if they so wish, because some departments may prefer to simply take the top 3, 4, 5, whatever, because and that's fine. We want to give them the option. Then the second part of that says, and adopt language access processes for limited English proficient job applicants consistent with the U.S. Department of Labor recommendations. And that's simply to be able to bring us, more up to date in terms of being able to assist with legally qualified individuals being able to work for the city at a time when we just don't have enough people to fill all the jobs. So that's the third bundle. Any questions, hands?
I feel like that one's pretty straightforward, hopefully.
Yeah, okay. Well, if there not being any hands, then I make a motion that we accept the third bundle to move forward for further discussion. That's item number 24.
Second, the motion has been made and seconded to move number 24 forward. I'll call the roll. Chair Bobo.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheridan.
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland.
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight.
Aye.
Parliamentarian Garth.
Aye.
Commissioner Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles.
Can I ask a question here, or is it just my vote?
Can you vote and then ask a question?
No, because, okay.
It will inform your vote. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Is
Go ahead.
this Article 18, section line item, something Director Sonia Jenkins Gray supports or provided us during interview, or is it something else?
I think it is in line with what is best practice. Certainly updating the naming conventions and saying human resources or whatever they choose, and then ensuring that there's equity and consistency across application processes, removing language barriers wherever possible. These are in line with best practices according to our research.
Okay, did she support these or she has not?
Let's see.
We have not had a chance at this point to have the conversation with her. And so
Director
what we are doing
Jenkins
is
Gray is
recommending they be moved forward so that then we can discuss them and have the conversation with her.
So Director Jenkins Gray is here. Director Jenkins Gray, do you support the?
Point of order.
Yeah, you can't call on someone else to speak.
Okay, so I will ask afterwards. My vote is nay. Thank you.
It carries. Thank you. Let's see, moving on to the fourth bundle.
This is simply the pronoun change that we've discussed, modify pronoun use within the document to name the title, i.e. mayor. So if there is no discussion about that, are there any hands that go up? Otherwise, I will make a motion that this one be carried forward.
Second.
Item number 25.
Second. The motion has been made and seconded. I'll call Chair Bobo.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheridan.
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland.
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight.
Aye.
Parliamentarian Garth.
Aye.
Commissioner Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles.
Aye.
And Secretary Intagliata passes.
Okay, fifth bundle. This was a recommendation from the mayor to keep up with the cost of living, inflation, etc., we're recommending the threshold for bidding be set by ordinance or to match the economy at the time. She actually asked that it be doubled, I believe, from 5,000 to 10,000. Was that it? But it makes more sense to actually peg it to actually to have it set by ordinance so that there will be flexibility as the years go by. Are there any questions about that? In that case, then I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we
My
accept.
hand is raised.
Yes.
Okay, so I acknowledge your hand raised. Go ahead and speak.
Thank you. I would like to know at what time and what time stamp the mayor requested said suggestion.
It was during her meeting with us, where she talked about what she recommended to be changed in the charter. And one of the specific recommendations that she made was to make this change. Because the bidding, particularly, she cited, especially in emergency situations where they had to acquire emergency goods, etc., that the current threshold that they had was too low.
Okay, so we will move forward with the motion at this time. Commissioner Crossland, if you'd like to restate.
Okay, item number 26, and I make a recommendation that we accept the fifth bundle, item 26, as stated.
Second, motion has been made and seconded. I'll call roll. Chair Bobo.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheridan.
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland.
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight.
Aye.
Parliamentarian Garth.
Aye.
Commissioner Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles.
Aye.
Secretary Intagliata, that passes. Very good.
Okay, number 6, the final one, which is simply the catch-all, number 27, unless specifically replaced in the proposed charter amendments or obsolete, all portions of the current City of St. Louis charter and its accompanying ordinances will continue in effect. Questions? Any hands?
I recognize Commissioner Grant.
Yeah, what does the term obsolete mean? Like you were replacing, unless specifically replaced in the proposed charter amendments or obsolete. Are you proposing elimination of certain articles?
Yeah, there are parts of the charter that pertain to activities and actions and even commissions that don't even exist anymore. There may well be, as we get into the wordsmithing in the next phase, a better word to use there, and that would be great. But the idea behind it is that that those parts of the charter right now that simply are no longer functioning entities or activity, have activity that they could, as part of that, be eliminated. That would be the idea.
Director Ingracia, and then Commissioner Nolan Eccles, and then I'll hold space for us to do the motion.
Thank you so much. Just a quick question about who is going to make the decision about what's obsolete.
I know not. Probably that's the kind of thing that legal will have to look at.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles.
Is there a way this recommendation could be brought up to speed with whom is going to be responsible for it, along with what it actually pertains to and what sections it actually pertains to, what language it actually pertains to? Right now, it's pretty broad and it doesn't really specify which particular actions to take or sections to remove or what is determined obsolete. The current charter has a lot of legalese language in it, and I would recommend we not continue with that approach.
But that's the purpose of the whole discussion, is to advance it forward so that it can be discussed there. So that's the whole point of that. So, I mean, it's kind of I see your point, but at the same time, the whole point of this is that we get to discuss that and it's determined what is obsolete or not.
Right.
Right, but who determines what is obsolete or not?
That would be the purpose of further conversations, I believe.
Yeah. The point to this process I had understood was not that we would have final language, but that we in fact were supposed to come up with some more global statements and opportunities then that would lead to discussion and refining of these different items.
So I can't tell, Director Ingracia, did you raise your hand again or did you put it down?
I'm
And is it
sorry,
still-
I'll lower my hand. I apologize.
Oh, no, I just wanted to make sure that you had been acknowledged if you had an additional comment.
Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Commissioner Crossland, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, then my final sixth bundle recommendation number 27 is I make a motion that we move this agenda item, this recommendation forward to the next step.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. I'll call roll. Chair Bobo,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheridan,
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland,
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight,
Nay.
Parliamentarian Garth,
I'm going to abstain.
the Commissioner Grant,
Aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles,
Nay.
Secretary Intagliata, I'm aye. That is 1, 2, 5 ayes. I believe that passes, Chair.
Excellent, thank you. We will move to the next set, which I believe starts with work group 1. I'm not sure if there's a representative that would like to go through and kind of summarize those. As a reminder, we have 10 minutes kind of for the discussion, and then we will entertain a motion to vote on those to move them forward.
Just
Okay.
let me scroll these down here a bit.
Thank you.
I think Commissioner Grant was going to speak for us.
Yeah,
Okay.
if that's okay. And what I thought I would do here is so their first two initial proposals, it's sort of gotten segmented oddly over time, but okay, there are two initial proposals here which relate to BPS type items. One is to eliminate a requirement to post the assessor to post notices in 2 newspapers. The idea being that the city's website and social media accounts are sufficient in this day and age. So it's a very specific proposal. So I'd move to advance that for full discussion at the subsequent meeting.
Second. Is that a motion, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah, second. Any questions? Otherwise we'll take a roll vote. Chair Bobo. I'm sorry.
Really quickly, so we're at this point, it's you're referring specifically to 28, 29, and 30. Is that correct?
No, just 28.
Just 28. Okay. I wanted to make sure for note-taking purposes.
No,
Understood.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've
28.
only got it for 28.
Okay, excellent.
All right. Chair,
Aye.
Aye. Vice Chair,
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland,
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight,
Aye.
the Parliamentarian Garth,
Aye.
Commissioner Grant,
Aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles,
Aye.
Secretary Intagliata passes.
Okay, so the next one, and I do want to point out, there are other BPS type proposals. I think they're down lower on the spreadsheet. Just to make, we'll return to those later, so, or get to those later, so.
And Commissioner Grant, I just want to point out, this one is actually this one is the same, basically, is the similar one that I've got up there in.
Yeah, number 29, so I would
26.
just propose withdrawing number 29, because we're already considering
Right.
Yeah,
identical proposal, so I don't see any harm in just withdrawing number 29.
Okay,
This would definitely be a reason to have reasons for streamlining this, because while there's 50 proposals and a lot of them are overlapping, I think that would probably, I think if we actually sit down and look at all these, I'm looking at it right now, we could probably turn this into 25 probably, if
I
not.
think so too. I think
That's
yeah.
just me. But
I'm with it. I'm with you. Okay.
So 29's withdrawn?
Well, I mean, I guess I want to make sure that Ms. Crosland's bundle covers number 29. Maybe we just say that we will move to
consolidate.
Yes, that's better. Yes.
Agreed.
So is that a motion?
Yes, motion to consolidate proposal number 29 with Ms. Crosland's previous proposal on.
so moved.
And which,
Second.
hold on a second, which previous number?
26.
26, okay. All right, merged with 26. All right, it's been motioned and seconded. Chair Bobo,
Aye.
Vice Chair,
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland,
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight,
Aye.
Parliamentarian Garth,
Aye.
Commissioner Grant,
Aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles,
Aye.
and Secretary Intagliata is an aye. Okay, very good.
Okay, so what I would like to do next is we've got number 30 and number 31. Right, those are the light, if you could scroll down, yeah, 30 and 31. So what I had done after the last meeting, it was suggested that we sort of split these proposals even further. And that is what I just circulated by email earlier, right before the start of this meeting, which is it creates 4 options, which I think people are going to want to review in more detail before, but so I'm hoping we will vote to take all 4 options. But what I have done is there are option number 1 is essentially the light reform. It just gives the Board of Aldermen budgeting authority. It maintains the Board of E&A and maintains the Comptroller's office. Option number 2 would eliminate the Board of E&A. And it gives the Board of Aldermen full budgeting authority and keeps the Comptroller, right? So even though the Board of E&A no longer exists, the Comptroller retains a number of functions over the financial duties of financial matters of the city. Option number 3 would create the public advocate's position, which we talked about, heard testimony about from the city of New York. And I will tell you what I did when I created the drafted option number 3, which would keep E&A, keep the Board of Aldermen, keep the Comptroller, but just create a new public advocate position. I did, based upon 2 things, the evidence taken by the public advocate and also testimony from Reverend Gray, I did modify some language to our previous proposal on the public advocate position. And what I did is those modifications I highlighted in yellow and the document that I circulated earlier today. And in particular, those modifications would give greater authority to the public advocate to essentially investigate complaints about the provision of city services and the administration of city programs. And also in light of Reverend Gray's testimony, and this would give certain independent boards, the Civilian Oversight Board and Detention Facilities Oversight Board, the ability to request legal support from the Public Advocate's Office and allow them to essentially pursue litigation through the Public Advocate's Office. So I highlighted those. There's been no discussion about them, but I included them in the option. And then option number 4, and what I circulated, is essentially the heavy E&A reform, which combines all 3 of those things into one.
So, Commissioner, what you're saying is that 30 and 31, and 31 appears quite lengthy here, have now been superseded or added to by the document you emailed us earlier today.
Correct. So what I would do is I would move to essentially replace items number 30 and number 31 with the 4 options that I circulated earlier today, and then move to advance those 4 options for further discussion.
If I could make a recommendation, we've spoken earlier about a separate special meeting for some of these items. I think if anything that we're discussing, particularly that we have some new nuanced information, this seems to me like one that would benefit from a single conversation of all the commission members. Or we could move these forward and then discuss your permutations to it.
I think those were, so that's what you circulated earlier. And I know you spent a lot of work on those. So perhaps that's something that we, like you're mentioning, we do add to our special meeting to dive in deeper. I mean, it would obviously depend on a motion and a vote, but before we get to that point, I do want to recognize Chief of Staff, Mr. Jared Boyd, for a comment.
Thanks, Commissioner Bobo. And as I stated before, I haven't been able to follow all the proceedings in depth. And I think I share Commissioner Intagliata's, I guess, desire to probably devote an entire meeting to these proposals. And one of the issues that maybe I'm failing to understand is I think a lot of people talk about the budgetary aspect and budgetary power of E&A, but I'm wondering if these proposals consider the contractual power that E&A has, and that really, from a practical standpoint, is the majority of work that E&A does in terms of approving contracts in a manner that ensures that no one party can be unduly influenced. So in consideration, like I said, we've talked a lot of, I know you all have talked a lot about the budget, but I think being thoughtful about where the power to enter into contracts will lie if some large reform to E&A does come to pass.
Understood. Thank you. Commissioner Nolan Eccles.
Well, so I'll just respond.
Oh yeah, you can respond to that. Yes.
Yeah, for a second. So yes, one we have thought about. I will say this, a couple things. So the article on the board of E&A says absolutely really nothing about contracting authority. So that's really developed as a matter of practice, right? Over years. That appears to us to be what has happened. Now, does that need to be addressed? Yes. And that contractual authority in some of these proposals has been now given to a Department of Finance, right? That would essentially ensure that contracts are staying within the appropriations for a particular line that are line items in the budget. But certainly, yeah, that needs to be more fully explored. And I think that's maybe another good reason to have a special meeting on that.
Okay, fair. Commissioner Nolan Eccles, I see your hand is raised.
My concern with this proposal, all in of itself, even all the 4 versions, even though I'm in favor of, I believe it's the option number 3 that I'm reading on my screen, that was sent earlier. This was also one of the aspects of the former charter reform proposals that went forth that the people were not in support of. So I just want us to give the special meeting regarding this matter some attention with adding individuals that actually have participated on the Board of ENA, both as a voting member and as a member of the public, related to our perspective on this. Because I'm interested in hearing from the individuals that actually participate in the process and the system of it, even though we've had special meeting already related to other cities' charter not reflecting commissions and boards in these items. I'm wanting to know the engraved political reasoning for having a Board of ENA in the first place and how it suited the city thus far before we start to vote on said option one way or the other. That's my perspective.
Thank you.
So I would just say there was extensive discussion during work group meetings, which were recorded, including from a representative of the comptroller's office and the budget director, about the benefits of the Board of ENA. So that's, I mean, those, I would encourage people to review that testimony.
Also, in response to that, I think it's important, instead of us kind of getting too stuck and siloed in what didn't work 20 years ago, I think it's important for us to consider what does public education look like around what we're proposing? What does community involvement look like? How do we ensure that we are representing several voices? So I do agree that having several people, perhaps from those commissions and those boards, to come and speak would be helpful. It seems as though the work group has done their due diligence and doing that research already, perhaps, and we can, again, dive deeper into that in a future special meeting.
I think to respond to the issue related to 20 years ago, it's within the research of the city of St. Louis related to our charter. So I think it's more than important that we reference the history and the entire research related to where we are and why we have certain structures and certain systems and how they've either worked or not worked, failed or succeeded, so that we concentrate on what it is that's pertinent to those things. But outside of that, this aspect in which I've spoken to other members of the Board of Aldermen and certain individuals that have participated as members of the public, they have perspective on this, but I believe we should reference.
So, and just so I'm clear, Commissioner Nolan Eccles, are you recommending that we have actual members, past members of ENA?
What I'm recommending is that today we received 4 different versions of what we're seeing in front of us on the screen as the ENA heavy and the ENA light recommendations. We even have out-of-state support for either one of the other. But I think given that we have 2 more recommendations related to this area, that we give it the due diligence it's needed pertaining to research and understanding the outcome of making either change, now that we have 2 more related to this area. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I believe those, as part of this process, they've already.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Considered, yeah, they've been considered and they'll be considered further.
Commissioner,
it's basically,
Garth, you can see.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's basically just doing a lot of redundancies at that point. If we've already done our research of it, and of course, as Commissioner Grant has already stated, we've already had members from the Comptroller's office, as well as other people who have spoken ad nauseum about this. So at this point, it becomes rather redundant to bring in everything from the past. And on top of that, if we're already talking about, well, why was this and this, that, and the other, we were all given a copy of this full charter, which does explain the history of things, or rather kind of talks about everything that's already there. So all we're really doing is constantly spinning our wheels, and we're not advancing any forward. But I would like for us to have that meeting, as Chief Boyd just pointed out, that it should be a dedicated meeting just for that so that we can have a deep dive, bringing in people from 20 years ago or what have you. How is that going to move the needle any further? It's just going to create more redundancies than we have a lot of time for. And we have a June deadline that we do need to make.
Point of information.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles, please. Commissioner Crossland, you can speak.
I stated a point of information.
Yes.
And a point of order that has to be recognized.
Commissioner Crossland.
Everyone else has spoken.
Commissioner Crossland.
Yeah, I just wanted to just 20 years ago, it's come up a couple times now. The question of whether the ENA should be abolished, those 4 amendments, they didn't get to square one, but it wasn't because the amendments were bad. It was because the whole pitch was wrong, and it was viewed as a corporate proposal at that point because Civic Progress was backing it. And so we have to be careful not to mix up what was proposed with the actual process itself. And the process got a bad name, and therefore people weren't necessarily looking that closely at the actual proposals. And as I said, just to reiterate one more time, I'll shut up about it. 20 years ago was a long time, and we need to look at this stuff now as standalone. We need to not hark back to the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Nolan Eccles, you may now speak.
To reference what I was saying earlier, I did not state that we bring back from 20 years ago individuals that were a part of the government. I am stating that the historical facts and realities of this city do matter, relate to why we have the systems that we have. They definitely do matter. They were created for a reason. They were established in a political climate in which we still have. So if we're not converting the entire governmental system to a good government practice that omits and eliminates total political influence, then removing the Board of ENA without considering where we're coming from to where we're going is the issue. So again, I state, I am not saying bring people from 20 years ago to this process. I'm simply stating consider why we have the system that we have. And I would also like the recommendation to reflect all 4 versions that have been presented to us earlier today in the motions that are going to be passed here now.
Yes, that is what we are presently doing. Thank you. So I will now entertain a motion for this section. Commissioner Grant or Commissioner Dwight, whomever.
Here's how I move to advance proposal number 30 and 31 in conjunction with the 4 options that were also circulated earlier today for further discussion.
As a point of a question rather,
I know we're not.
can we consolidate 30, 31 just like so that it's simplified?
Well, I think he's Commissioner, he's motioning that they be considered together.
Fair enough.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, a second. Let's call roll on that motion. Chair Bobo?
Aye.
Vice Chair?
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland?
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight?
Aye.
Parliamentarian Garth?
Aye.
Commissioner Grant?
Aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles?
Aye.
And Secretary Intagliata, aye. It moves forward. Very good.
Okay, so is this next part still a part of your work group as well? I just want to make sure we covered.
So down farther, a few pages below, there are further recommendations from work group 1.
I see.
think on page 7.
Okay, so I think we're keeping in line with order of submission. So at this point, we're going to, we'll come back to that, Commissioner Dwight, because I understand that they're probably connected. Commissioner Nolan Eccles, you can speak about your recommended proposals.
Okay, I'm making sure we're staying at number 32 on the screen.
Yes, we are.
Okay. So the Board of E&A, number 32, we've already made a decision on that. So my particular recommendation for it can be connected to the recommendation that's already been moved and supported. So I move that number, we keep moving the screen. Number
Yes.
32 be added and supported with the existing motion that's already passed.
Are there, in the group of recommendations that you're making here, Commissioner, can any others be added to previous recommendations?
Yes, so the public works, the pronouns, titles, and language omittance, the Board of Aldermen. And if you can scroll down some. Elections, number 37, number 38, number 39. And so, yes, all mine can be added to, so I will add my numbers of my motion to my motion for you and Commissioner Tagliata.
Very good. So if you'll make a motion then.
Really
that would-
quickly,
Oh,
I want to recognize Counselor Hamilton.
Thank you. Just for clarity, for the minutes, are you able to, and maybe we could defer this and have somebody else talk while we get this going, but correspond the numbers that you want to relate to what other numbers on this spreadsheet so that we have a motion that we can put in the minutes that is super clear, please.
Okay, that's fair. So I believe Commissioner Nolan Eccles mentioned 34 or 30, let's see,
So I can.
32 through 41, I believe.
It's 32 through 41. If we can identify the motions that have already passed that are associated to them, I can just respond with the motion associated to it, so it's reflective in the minutes, like she requested.
I think that's great, and I certainly appreciate the counselor's request. It seems that a little bit of work after this meeting to match those up with previous recommendations might be more useful with our time here.
Yeah.
We're going pretty long.
Mm-hmm.
So I would move that number 32, number 33, number 34, number 35, if you can scroll down and Tagliata. Number 36, number 37, number 38, number 39, number 40, and number 41 be added to the previous motions in which they support for further discussion.
Second, the motion has been made and seconded. I will call roll. Chair Bobo.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheridan.
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland.
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight.
Nay.
Parliamentarian Garth.
Nay.
Commissioner Grant.
Hold on here. Let me look at these. I'll pass. Let me come back to me.
Okay. Commissioner Nolan Eccles.
Aye.
And Secretary Intagliata, aye. So, Commissioner Grant, do you have enough time, or would you like to consider further? And would you like me to?
I'm going to abstain. I don't have time to process all of that. I mean, there are proposals here that I don't understand or seem, so I'm going to abstain.
Okay, so there's 3 nays and 5 ayes, I believe the motion will pass.
Now, if I understand this, what we are going to do is we're going to collapse these into the other proposals where there is overlap, because there's fairly significant overlap in some of these statements.
I
Is
think
that
that's where I was a little confused and why I voted
Right.
nay. Some of these don't overlap in the same.
Parliamentarian Garth, is it too late to, can you change a vote, or is that not allowed?
You would have to, since the vote is already passed, you would actually have to make another motion
motion.
you gotta make a new motion to basically undo what was,
Mhm.
yeah, thank you. That's what it's called, motion to reconsider.
Mhm.
Okay, because
Jesus Christ.
that's okay. That comment, Commissioner Dwight, is making me rethink, but okay. City Councilor Hamilton, did you have, I saw your hand was raised.
I was just, I mean, my comment is very similar to, I'm not sure what relates to what, and so I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
If subsequent to this, maybe we could get maybe an email summary from Commissioner Nolan Eccles saying, hey, I want number 10 to relate to number 1, number 9 to relate to, because I think they may be a little different, but I'm not exactly sure. So okay, thank you.
Have concern.
Great.
I'll do the request of where, based on the past motions, they fit, and I'll make sure everybody gets it. No problem, Tina.
Thank you.
Okay, now I believe we are back at work group 1.
I actually, could Mr. Dwight or Mr. Garth handle these? So
Yeah, sure. So this first one was about I believe this one was recommended by the BPS director about abstract proceedings being published on the city's website or by other electronic means. This was one that we approved because I think it was similar to the posting in newspapers versus other more modern online means of posting in public websites. It seems like this one is separate from the next section if we were thinking about bundling them. Are there any questions about this one?
And when you say the next section, you mean the rest of those 43 through 48?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it in terms of groupings as we've done with the previous sections. But I can continue forward with them if we'd like to think about them all together.
If you'd like to make a motion on that one, Commissioner, feel free.
Sure. Motion to move forward number 42 for consideration, the next step of the process.
Second, I'll call roll. Chair Bobo.
Aye.
Vice Chair.
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland.
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight.
Aye.
Parliamentarian Garth.
Aye.
Commissioner Grant.
aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles.
Aye.
Secretary Intagliata, aye. Passes. Okay.
Item number 43, am I understanding? I don't think I was in this meeting, but I think I heard reference that Department of Transportation had already been approved for moving forward into the discussion phase. Is that
Yes,
true?
it has been.
Yes.
So then maybe we can go ahead and skip item 43 since we've already addressed it. And then I will actually suggest grouping number 44 to 48 because these are all some of those obsolete language or updates to how the city actually functions. So the first one, Department of Welfare is actually Department of Human Services. Functioning today, there isn't a Department of Welfare. Similarly with Division of Adult Services, renamed to the Division of Corrections, and also having a specific reference to the Commissioner of Corrections. And this division is actually under the Department of Public Safety. So fixing that. The Malamphy Fund no longer exists, so striking that. Removing the reference to the Division of Hospitals / Board of Hospitals, because that no longer exists and we don't have a public hospital system in the city any longer. And then lastly, referring to that we've repealed state control of the police department and the excise functions. So removing that language from our charter. Any questions about those set of updates?
Appears there's a hand raised.
I don't, let me see. Let me
Kathleen
expand my
Farrell.
screen.
It looks like Kathleen Farrell, an attendee from the League of Women Voters.
Yes, we do have a section for public comment at the end of
Great.
the agenda.
Thank you.
So then I move for us to advance number 44 through number 48 through to the next consideration process.
Second, motion has been made and seconded. I'll call roll. Chair Bobo.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheridan.
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland.
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight.
Aye.
Parliamentarian Garth.
Aye.
Commissioner Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles.
Aye.
And Secretary Intagliata is an aye. Motion passes.
One more item that's not listed here because it wasn't voted forward by the work group to be presented to the full commission, but we did receive a list of recommendations from the director of BPS, and Commissioner Grant has just forwarded that to everybody by email. So if you have a chance to review those, we didn't vote them forward because we weren't all in agreement for some of them, but wanted to make sure that we shared with the full commission for your awareness.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. It appears that the next section is relating to Article 18, and I believe that we said we would have a special meeting on that.
That is correct.
Great. And if that's the case, then if I skip to the bottom,
Did we make it to the end?
I think that is the end.
Number 50 is the only one there. So if it's okay to skip 49, because we will be having a special meeting.
Right.
And so do we want to allow Chairman Nolan Eccles to make a motion to forward it for that special meeting?
Okay. And also as a point of just a clarity, Director Gray has also agreed to have that special meeting, so we can have that discussion and have her special presentation at that time.
Great. Commissioner Nolan Eccles, would you like to weigh in?
Yes. I move that the Article 18 recommendation be bundled with the existing coordinating motions in addition to being moved forward for further discussion.
Second, I will now, the motion has been made and seconded. I'll call the roll. Chair Bobo.
Nay.
The Vice Chair Sheridan.
Abstain.
Just a second. Just a second. scribe error here, please. Sorry.
It's okay.
I think we're gonna have to do this one on paper. Just give me a moment. All right. So let me just review. Chair Bobo was nay. Vice Chair Sheridan
Abstain.
abstain. The Commissioner Crossland,
Nay.
Commissioner Dwight.
Abstain.
Parliamentarian Garth,
Abstain.
Commissioner Grant,
Aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles,
Aye.
and Secretary Intagliata is aye. That is 3 ayes, 2 nays, and 3 abstains. The motion does not move forward to that special meeting.
Okay, and is there, let's see, Commissioner Grant, there was number 50, I believe.
Yes, this is the proposal on the right of collective bargaining that's been presented before and also was discussed quite a bit at in a public hearing we had. So I'd move to advance this for full discussion.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded. I'll call roll. Chair Bobo,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheridan,
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland,
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight,
Aye.
Parliamentarian Garth,
Aye.
Commissioner Grant,
Aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles,
Nay.
and Secretary Intagliata is aye. 7 ayes, 1 nay. The motion passes. That
Can I okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, Scott.
yeah, Chair, that is all of the items in this list.
Can I just ask a poser? I want to make sure I understood Rich Bradley's proposals. Are there any, I just want to make sure I understand it. Are there going to be further discussion on that or not?
That we are going to review his
Okay.
entire.
Is that a motion, Commissioner Grant?
I wasn't sure of what the decision was on that. I was trying to get clarification.
I didn't hear any decision being made. I know this spreadsheet that we have here is all of the voting commissioners' proposals. And so
Yeah, my proposal, I don't think I made up a proposal more than to say that we have forwarded that to the full commission and encourage its review. And if there is, anything that we in future meetings do want to add in.
I think we should probably officially move that his proposals be further for full discussion. Because I think that's not that. Otherwise, I'm not sure there's a record of that. So,
if there's no record, I would motion to table.
What does record of that mean?
If anyone has not, someone just said that there was no record of it, so like it's not here on the spreadsheet. I do see that there were, just going back over my emails here, there was at least how long ago did you send that again, Commissioner Grant?
Well, it was resent today, but it was included in our original forwarding from our work group.
yeah, I don't know why it's not in the spreadsheet, but
Well, I think it's right that it's not in the spreadsheet, because my understanding is that we had a set that we voted on to as a work group to submit to the full commission, and we also wanted to provide for transparency these set, but we didn't vote as a work group to include those. in
I
the
see.
recommendations.
Also, just a point for the agenda making, for us to consider on our June 3rd, agenda item 6 is about us setting the June 3rd agenda, deciding on special meetings, and then public hearings too. So if that's something that we could address in item 6 versus now, that might be better.
I would
Yeah.
concur. Is that a motion, or do we need to vote, or can we just?
No, there's no need to make a motion or that. You can just say defer to item 6.
Perfect.
Because it will come up. So thank you for that section. I think we deliberated at a fair pace. So for section 5, or number 5 on the agenda, I will turn it over to Vice Chair Sheridan. We didn't receive any speaker slips, but I believe that there were maybe 1 or 2 people who raised their hands in the Zoom call. And we will allot 3 minutes apiece for public comment. Vice Chair Sheridan, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Chair Bobo. I'd like to recognize Kathleen Farrell. Ms. Farrell, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, I want to address, I think that there's an error in understanding about independent counsel for the city council proposal. First of all, conflict of interest disclosure. In addition to the city of St. Louis, 5 individuals who were the core committee for Prop R were also sued. I was one of them. So I want to say that our individual names were then dropped. But it is my understanding, respectfully to disagree with you, Commissioner Intagliata, that those in Prop R, those individuals who were suing the city and us were operating as individuals. That when we talk about independent counsel, we're talking about independent counsel for the total board of alderpersons, not for an individual who happens to be an alderperson who then sues the city, as was Prop R. When it started out, the original group of people who were suing the city and myself and the other 4 members, who were Wally Seward, LaShonda Lewis, Ann Sappington, Daryl Gray, and myself, okay? And then we petitioned to the court to have us removed from that suit, and that was granted. And they are still suing the city. The original list was Jack Coder, Marlene Davis, John Collins Mohammed, and trying to remember the commissioner that was in South City who's no longer with us. Anyway, they have replaced John Collins Mohammed with Laura Keys on that lawsuit. So I just wanted you to understand that. And when we were talking about independent counsel, we were talking about independent counsel for the board of alderpersons, not for an individual alderperson, as was in the case of the suit of Prop R, who decided to sue the committee, not as part of the board of alderpersons, but as individuals. So I just want to make that extremely clear. And certainly when the league said that the board of alderpersons or the city council, we're hoping it will become, has independent counsel, we're talking about it as a body, not as an individual member who would bring a lawsuit.
And Kathleen, that was certainly the spirit of the recommendation.
Okay.
And I was, quite frankly, confused about that lawsuit when it was brought up earlier.
Yeah.
I am no clearer on it, but the spirit of the original recommendation is that it would represent the entire board or the city council if it becomes that.
Yeah, when the city councilor asked you, you said something else. You said, yes, that it could, serve as council. So
Right,
want
for the entire,
make
for
sure
the
I was
entire
clear.
board is certainly what I meant. And again, I didn't understand that particular lawsuit any better
Okay.
than I do now, but I certainly know what the original intent was, and it was to represent the entire body.
Okay, I just want that to be very clear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes,
you may.
Counselor Hamilton, please.
Sorry. So that's what Ms. Farrell just brought up is the reason that I raised this, right? Is because the individual alder people brought the lawsuit. And what the motion that you have approved, what I was asking is, would you also allow the body as a whole to hire the lawyer who defends against the lawsuit that these individual alder people brought? And what you said was yes, right? So that's what I was.
And so Sheena, I should not have said that. And I think I've made it pretty clear what the original intent of this is, to have a general counsel or some sort of counsel for the entire body. Okay? So, and
That's
I'm
what I,
sure
that's what
that
I'm
we could-
saying.
Okay, all right.
That's what I'm
We-
saying is that if the individual alder people already have their private attorneys, right? And so the question I'm
No,
asking.
I don't, I'll be honest with you, Counselor. I think that discussing the vagaries of this through one court case is probably not going to be very productive. And the threshold for legal conversations, no disrespect to any of our lawyers here, I'm not sure that we'll have a clear understanding of this through this discussion. What we may want to do is, as we move to the next journey of those recommendations, is perhaps you and I and some other lawyer on the commission can have a sidebar conversation about it so I can understand it a bit better. And it could just be my lack of knowledge or sophistication. I'm happy to do that. And we can talk about what it means to represent a body versus being hired to represent an individual. I'm not clear on that, but I'm certainly willing to learn and understand it better. Okay.
Are there any other public comments or anybody from the public that would wish to provide testimony or speak? Ms. Farrell, I assume your hand is, do you have your hand up again a second time, or was that just from the same question? Okay, I'll assume that your question was asked. Okay, Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. Our next agenda item is, as I mentioned earlier, discussing the June 3rd agenda, special meetings and public hearings. And then with regard to the June 3rd agenda, I do want to make mention that, we can have space to consider and discuss very deeply third-party proposals that we have that are contained within the Google Drive. Our June 3rd agenda will include an agenda item regarding that if this body so chooses. And then we can also decide when we're going to meet with Director Gray for that special meeting. She has provided some availability. Either we can do that on this call, or perhaps we can send out one of those Calendly links. I don't know that the participation is always great on those Calendly links. Keep me honest, Counselor Hamilton. So it might be best to do it on this call, but I just wanted to share that here. So
You should have those dates available, and we can just talk about it now if you'd like.
Okay. So specifically for Director Gray, her availability that she provided to the Charter Commission to make herself available to give her own personal testimony are Friday. I'm going to give you all just a moment to pull out your calendars if you don't already have them. But
could I ask Commissioner Intagliata to take down the posting, the combined spreadsheet now, so we can go back to screen?
Just a
Oh.
second. Just a second. Is that
Thank
better?
you.
Voila, there we
Perfect.
go.
Thank you.
So, let's see. So Director Gray has made herself available Friday, May 24th at noon, which is coming up the end of this week. Wednesday, May 29th at 4:30 p.m. or the following Friday, May 31st at noon. So I do want to preface this coming up weekend, I believe, is a holiday weekend. So if that has any bearing on anyone's availability, but we can have.
Could you repeat
Yes,
those again?
absolutely. So this Friday, May 24th at noon, 12 noon. The second available time is Wednesday, May 29th at 4:30 p.m. And then the final one is Friday, May 31st at noon, 12 p.m.
Those dates are in the chat.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Just for clarity, in my response, I said I wasn't available on this Friday, the 24th.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I believe that leaves the 29th and the 31st. So the 29th at 4:30 p.m. or the 31st at noon. That kind of narrows it down for us, Director Gray. So that works out pretty well, actually.
Welcome.
Does anyone have availability on those specific dates?
I can make either one of them work.
Okay, I can as well. Anybody else have specific dates that don't work for them? Maybe that would be easier.
Chair Bobo, I'm only free on the 29th, but I can always watch the video to catch up.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you.
I could make both work. Have a strong preference for Wednesday, but whatever's best for the group.
I'm the
Is
same.
Okay, is Wednesday okay for everybody? Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we will hear from you, Director Gray.
I'm sorry, that's Wednesday at what time?
4:30 p.m.
And you'll be sending out
Yeah.
Counselor's office will send out an invitation, right?
Yes, I'm sure they will handle that.
Thank you.
They're on top of it.
Okay.
So, and Director Gray, I mean, Director Ingrassia, if you can't make it, I'm sure we will record and. Okay, sounds great. So let's see, the next agenda item as part of this is to discuss special meetings. Would anyone like to also discuss the meetings that we kind of have been talking through during this call, which I believe there have been some around ENA, perhaps, as a special meeting by itself? I'm not sure if we want to have that by itself or bundle that also with the Director Ingracia's also coming to another closed session.
I think we've also got discussion about the mayor/executive branch outside of personnel. It might be that that could be bundled with something.
Yeah, I would like to, so if we're gonna meet on the, as I understand it, on the 29th, right? Why don't we just bundle, I mean, it's a long meeting, but I'd much prefer to have one meeting than 3 separate meetings.
Okay, so we can do that. I just believe that Director Ingracia was not available at on that meeting. So we might have to have a separate one, but I'm not sure that if we're not voting, if we need it to be quorum present anyway. Is that correct?
I apologize. Which meeting?
The 29th.
I'm free on the 29th.
Oh, you are free on the 29th.
I am, yes.
Great. So let's do that all in one fell swoop. Is everyone okay with that? I believe we need to still vote on that.
Yeah, please repeat what would be at that meeting on the agenda then.
Absolutely. So we would have testimony and presentation by Director Gray. We would have testimony from Director Ingracia. We would be discussing the board of ENA. We would be discussing the mayoral executive branch. Did I miss something?
Unless the meeting's going to be 3 hours. I
Yeah.
I wonder if there's one of those we should take off.
Okay,
Just
I'm
knowing,
wondering if we
knowing
should
us in our
take,
meetings.
I'm wondering if we should take the Board of E&A and move that to our June in-person meeting. Because I think we could probably do the other 3 things at that meeting on the 29th.
And
okay. I will entertain a motion for that.
Director Ingracia, what's the closed session regarding again? Please remind me.
Discussion on how to get the recommendations from the commissioners to the Board of Aldermen before they go to the Board of Elections.
So
I make a motion that we hold a special meeting on the 29th of May. And the agenda of that meeting then to include a report and discussion having to do with from Director Sonia Jenkins Gray, plus discussion about the personnel function of the city and what recommendations we want to move forward. In addition to that, the agenda would include Director Ingracia then in a closed session having to do with aldermanic issues and moving all of our agendas forward. And also then a discussion and decision in terms of what recommendations we move forward with regards to the mayor/executive branch.
second. The motion has been made and seconded. I'll call roll on this. The Chair Bobo,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheridan,
Aye.
the Commissioner Crossland,
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight,
Aye.
Parliamentarian Garth,
Aye.
Commissioner Grant,
Aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles.
I believe she's dropped the call at this point.
Okay, and Secretary Intagliata is an aye, so that passes.
All right, and then with that, we'll be able to also, after next Wednesday, we'll be able to schedule and discuss further about what needs to be a part of our public hearing. So the very final thing is adjournment. Can I have a motion for that?
One other thing to add to the June 3rd agenda,
Mhm.
and I think maybe I was late with it, is I would like to make sure on the agenda that we have a full discussion on scope of work needed to conduct a survey about.
Oh, correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would like, if it's not already on the agenda, that we have a fuller discussion about the steps after reaching out to community organizations to introduce the subject of charter reform. What else we can do to be able over the summer and fall months to educate.
So community discussion and community outreach.
Community
pertaining-
engagement, expanding community engagement beyond the first step. Would that make sense, David?
Mm-hmm. It makes sense.
I think it's also, it sounds like there's 2 things. So Commissioner Intagliata is also mentioning that we need to consider poll or a survey of some sort to assess sentiment.
Mhm.
So those are 2 different things, correct, that we need to add? Okay. Does your motion include both of those items to add to the agenda, Commissioner Crossland?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
Second.
also, and that is the day we'll be working on E&A stuff, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And so the motion is that on the June 3rd meeting, we're going to cover community engagement, provision of a survey, and the full E&A discussion.
Right.
Okay. That's
We need a second.
amended motion. I'll second. I'll take roll. The Chair Bobo,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheridan,
Aye.
Commissioner Crossland,
Aye.
Commissioner Dwight,
Aye.
Parliamentarian Garth,
Aye.
Commissioner Grant,
Aye.
Commissioner Nolan Eccles has dropped off. Secretary Intagliata is an aye.
Wonderful. Thank you all for that. And again, so we can now move to adjournment. Sorry, I jumped the gun.
So moved.
Second,
Thank you all. Bye.
Let's say goodbye. Take care.